Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It has been a hot minute. I said I was going to do this, I think, every week, or every other week. I said I might do it one or the other. I've decided to do it every other week for the time being. You know, I do have other things I need to do. But to be honest with you guys, I have just, I recently got laid off. Like, a few weeks ago, I got laid off. And then today, I got told that I got my job back. So that's pretty nice. I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful that I got my job back, only like 2 weeks after I was laid off. So it's been a pretty weird 2 weeks. Like, the first week of me being laid off was like super productive. I cleaned everything like in my room, my whole space, the music room, the back office, which is just cluttered with my grandparents' stuff because they haven't picked it up. I live in my grandparents' house. They moved out months ago, so now me and my brother, we live here. We kind of doing our thing, but they still have stuff here. That's not even the point. I'm just spewing bullshit at this point. But my first week was like super productive, like cleaning shit up, making sure that my shit was organized. I like rearranged my entire room I think the week before. So I was already filled with like this renewed energy about myself. So I was just like, fuck it. I'm gonna like make YouTube videos of a certain caliber. I want to make new kind of content. I don't want to just do the basic like video game reviews anymore. I want to do something different. I want to add in a little pizzazz to it. So I decided to just make the NES Classic Edition video, which I think is probably one of my favorite videos that I made. I don't know how well it's done. I haven't had the chance to check like its performance on the channel so far, and I most certainly could, but I don't think I want to on the podcast. But no, that video has done extremely well, and I'm very, very fortunate that it's done well because that video just has so much good content about it. It was probably my favorite to make, and then in making it, the process of making it, I had to get a new video editing software because the one I was using was just total shit. Let's see here. Yeah, as of right now, the video is almost 2 weeks old, and it's got 37 views. So that's not bad. Like, if we look at my most popular video, which is the Call of Duty Zombies one, which is a terrible video, it's got 60 views in 3 months. So this one's reached, more than half of that in a week. So I'm pretty happy with that video. And, when you're as small as me, you get pretty happy with little numbers like that. My music channel is doing all right. I don't post on there very often because, again, I have other things I do. And to be honest with you guys, like the gaming stuff is just way more fun for me. I have a bigger passion in video games than I do music. But don't get me wrong, I love music. I don't think I can go a day without like studying something in music or like learning something new about music. It's weird. But no, after that first week of being stuck at home, it was weird because all of a sudden it felt like I just woke up one morning and just went, okay, motivation's gone, I'm done. And then like from there, it just kind of like spiraled out of control for a little bit of like I didn't do shit for like a few days, which inevitably led to like me feeling really bad about myself and me feeling really terrible. So what did I do? I did my laundry. I changed my bed sheets out and did all that fun stuff. I reorganized my dresser because it was kind of hectic. It's a very small dresser, but I don't have a very good system, especially my sock drawer. Jesus Christ, I don't know what goes where. There's more than just socks in my sock drawer. It's like underwear and belts. I actually put belts in my fucking sock drawer because I don't know where else to put it. That's what happens when nobody tells you where you should put your belts. I don't know. Is there like a proper spot like that you put your belts? Because I've just been putting it with my underwear. I don't know. I really don't know. But no, it was weird to go from being so heavily motivated then to just like completely crash and fall and burn off the face of the planet. And then like over the past few days, my motivation has slowly crept back up, and I've been feeling a bit more productive over the past few days. So I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling motivated enough that I'm gonna record the podcast like I said I was going to do, like a week ago. But like last week, I recorded a podcast, and I was just like, man, I was like 20 minutes into it, and I was just like, I'm bored. I'm really bored. I am like really bored of this, and I just cut off the recording, and I was just like, I'm not motivated right now. I'm not me. I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling good. But right now, life's going. I'm very grateful for what I've been given. To be honest with you guys, it's a wonderful thing to. It's not a wonderful thing. It is a wonderful thing to lose your job and then get it back like immediately. But in this time of quarantine, I have taken. I wanted to learn a little bit more about myself, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about the world. I do have a love for politics that I really don't talk about. And through talking to people and through watching videos and listening to different different how do I put this? People who know more than me, including like family members. I've kind of found more of myself, and I used to be like, for reference here, I used to be like pretty hardcore right. I was like the kid in high school who would go around the school saying facts don't care about your feelings and that kind of shit. And that's how I was up until, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through my senior year. And then I started to like, what I would do is I would question my friends who had like the same political views as me. I would be like, yo, what do you hate about the idea of free healthcare? And then they just kind of sit there and stumble around about it. And it's just like, you don't actually fucking know anything. And it's like, this is so weird because I don't actually know anything either. That's the weird thing. I don't understand, why am I not capable of defending my own argument about free healthcare? Why do I dislike it? And then it occurred to me that the reason I dislike free healthcare is because it's something that has been told to me over and over and over again that it is bad and that it is a horrible thing. And this is just like, okay, hold on. If we're going to have nationalized schools where the education system is provided for all, right, which the school system, it has problems in of itself. It could definitely use a good reform. I could go on and on about that, but like, if we do that with our schools, we do it with the police, we do it with the fire department. Why would we not extend that out to the medical industry? And I hear some claims about how it will slow the industry and how it will slow down the medicine. It's like, okay, I don't have any sort of evidence to go against that. I don't know, but I also would be curious to hear the evidence for that. I have heard people say that, but I've never really like been in a situation where I would have the time to be like, oh, hey, you said that the industry would basically stop if everyone had free healthcare. Tell me why. I never had the chance to ask anybody that, but I would be interested to hear from someone who is conservative why you believe Medicare for all is such a bad idea. Because after doing some numbers and you read about how much the American people spend on healthcare each year, it's fucking insane. And then you do the numbers of how much your taxes would increase comparatively and how much spending would go into it overall. It's like, okay, people are paying way more now for healthcare than they would if these policies were put into place. And to be honest with you, some of the things that Bernie Sanders said about how he was going to implement it, over the course of 4 years, kind of drop Medicare down from 65, 55, 45 to 35. That was a pretty, that's, at the very least, he's got like an idea, and he's dropped out now. Now we're left with fucking Joe Biden, who literally cannot form a goddamn sentence without spazzing the fuck out. Joe, he needs to stop. And it's not like out of like, oh, haha, Trump's going to win because Sleepy Joe is sleepy, It's more of just like, dude, you're old. Enjoy retirement, man. Enjoy living life, the last bit of it you have. You don't deserve to go through the stress of being a president at the age of whatever. Unless, if he's really wanting to feel it, he might think he's 60, but he's definitely got some problems. That was an Alzheimer's joke. I apologize. I have Alzheimer's in my family. I have the perfect way to combat Alzheimer's. Kill yourself. That's a joke. Jesus Christ, don't. See, that's the kind of edgy humor. I definitely still love like edgy humor, but like that was the kind of shit like that was it's almost a part of like the modern conservative like branding is being edgy, and it's really dumb. Because the more I explore the world of politics and economics and other things like that, the more I find like that kind of, you can't use that humor as a basis for an argument because it doesn't work. When you go into any sort of debate form, you can't just go, ha ha ha, facts don't care about your feelings, ha ha he he he. No, hold on. You need to, sometimes feelings are pretty important too, and that's just a stupid fucking saying anyway. Just because there are facts in a situation doesn't mean that they are A, the only facts, and B, it doesn't mean that your feelings are illegitimate, because there are things that are made up by feelings that we have to care about. Like, dude, any guy who says that facts don't care about your feelings, which I have never heard a woman say it, never fucking heard it. Any guy who has ever said this legitimately and mean it doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, at least for that particular topic, because like, number one, you don't understand women. If you're trying to tell a woman facts don't care about your feelings, you're working in the wrong direction, dude. You're going in the completely wrong direction. Women don't like that shit. Women, as far as I can tell, from what I've been able to gather from my time with, living with the various females of my life, is that women generally like to be heard. They like to be talked to, and I think that's mainly the thing for everybody. But when you're dismissing somebody's argument because it's about feelings, it would lead me to believe, if you were attacking me, that you are dismissing me as a person. Because just because I feel strongly about something doesn't, make my arguments illegitimate. And I think it's a really stupid line of thinking, because feelings do matter. Okay, they do. If they didn't, dude, if feelings didn't matter, no mother in the world would care for their child. Nobody would. Why would you care? You don't have to feel anything. The only thing that matters is facts. As long as the numbers are on my side, who the fuck cares? It's a very dangerous line of thinking, and that was one of those things that kind of pushed me away from the right. Another thing weirdly that did enough for me was like seeing a lot of this like blowback. Since the pandemic, a lot of people talking about freedom and rights right now because the governments are shutting things down and saying shit. It's like, do you motherfuckers not understand this shit at all? Do you motherfuckers not get it? How the whole world is shut down right now, and how the United States, by comparison, is one of the worst countries. We have handled it awfully compared to other countries in the world. You look at South Korea, dude, they fucking nailed it compared to us. Like, South Korea handled this virus in the best way possible, at least comparative to the United States. But then again, South Korea knew not to trust China. They were like, let's not believe what the Chinese say because they're a communist regime, so we should probably not trust their facts. And they didn't. So they got people from Wuhan out pretty quickly. They got everyone kind of, I don't know the exact details of it. I shouldn't say that I do. But I do know that they've had a pretty good grasp on it compared to the United States. And that's definitely something that we should look at. And I'm not going to say that President Trump has done an awful job, because he has done, he's done a job. At least he's doing something about it. Although I guess the question becomes, as a president, do you want to take the action of, do you want to be do you want to look like a great leader by taking action and then run the risk of damaging your base, which generally the Republican base is kind of like, okay, leave it up to the states kind of shit, So do you want to hurt your image with your base, or do you want to just be like a powerful leader? And that's a very real question. Do you think that your states of your union, do you think that the states in your union can handle this pandemic, or do you need to take force? That's a very difficult thing. That is the weirdest fucking predicament in a pandemic, especially when you're a country that is literally founded on the basis of freedom, unless you're black, of course. Everyone knows that shit. That's a joke. Anyway, but no, that's a serious problem, because the United States is so unique in that aspect, that we are born from this idea of freedom, and that it leads into this sort of problem where if there's a problem with crisis, the president is in a weird position where he has to go, okay, either I need to be more authoritarian in this moment, or I need to let the states do something about it. And either way is going to have its blowbacks. Either side is going to have this problem. But for the purposes of what's happening now, it seems to me like the better approach is to be more liberal in this time with its execution of how you solve this thing. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to solve it. I observe and I look at shit and I say, this could be better. I kind of like having a job, although I may not really enjoy the contents of my job. I don't enjoy, putting together furnaces and shit, installing furnaces and whatnot. I don't necessarily enjoy that as much as I enjoy this, although that is a very interesting field of work. I do think it's interesting at the very least. It's fun to learn about HVAC. If you're someone who has a very mechanical mind, HVAC is really fun to learn. There's a lot of sciencey shit that goes into it, but there's also just a lot of math and geometry, that building ductwork and shit. It's interesting, at least. But no, I wouldn't say it's my most fun pastime. But I feel like there's a lot of people, especially where I live, there's a lot of conservative people, and I don't want to say I've grown out of it, because that makes it sound like I'm above it now, and I don't want to give that mentality because I don't think that I'm above conservatism. There are some things that I'm very conservative on, and those things are like gun rights, the First Amendment. I'm very conservative on the First Amendment. I believe that any idea, no matter how fucking crazy and insane it might be, deserves to at least have a platform so long as you're not inciting violence and the harming of others. That's perfectly fine. You know, when we're talking about people like neo-Nazis saying that the white people are so superior in every way, it's like, okay, now you're drawing the point where I'm like, okay, you're hitting a point here. You take it one step further, and we got a problem. You know, you can say that you can believe, it is my belief that you can believe that other races are inferior. Just know you're a piece of shit. You know, you're genuinely like you're not even the whole shit. You're just a piece of it. You know, you can't censor everything. And a good reason for not censoring people, a good pro to a lack of censorship, is that the craziest ideas are heard, and because they are heard, they get recorded, and then people look at those ideas and they say, yeah, no, this is fucked up. We're not going to follow that idea. Although, on the other hand, if you don't censor, what you have is a world where, kind of what we're getting right now, to an extent, it's not as bad as it could be, but you see right now people in the political sphere are running to the far left and to the far right, and that's very scary. And then they sit there and they camp, and they say, okay, this is where I am, this is where I'm going to stay, and anyone who gets in my way is a problem, and they are the enemy. And this happens on both sides. It really does. Whether or not people recognize it or not is kind of crazy, because I didn't recognize that I did this. I would hear anything about Bernie Sanders, and I would just be like, ugh, that's dumb. Stupid Bernie. You fucking take my money, Bernie. No, that's ridiculous. That's a stupid line of thinking. It's putting yourself in a box, closing the lid, and saying, my ideas are perfect. I don't ever need to learn any new information because my ideas are perfectly validated. Well, hold on. Number one, the world changes. So thus your ideas about the world become invalid as the world changes. That's just going to happen, you know. And this is kind of the problem that religion has too as well. But I could get into that in a different, or later in the podcast, or like later in a different episode. But no, you can't put yourself in a bubble, because one day the bubble's going to pop. And when it does pop, you're going to be so far behind everybody else in your line of thinking. And that's a very dangerous thing, because once you have a group of people who are all in this big bubble together, who think a certain way, you get very, very dangerous ideologies out of it. You get things like Marxism, you get things like Nazism, and you get things like the KKK, and it's very fucking dangerous. It's so scary when you look at this shit where people are so narrow-minded and they go down this path of just delusion and thinking in their own way. They never stop to ask themselves, well, what if I'm wrong? You know? And I think what it takes for someone to realize that they're wrong is to be utterly fucking destroyed in an argument. You know? And I think I've had this happen. A good friend of mine, funny enough, I met him on a Minecraft Discord server. Well, I guess I just met him. No, I probably met him in the Minecraft Discord. I don't think I actually ever met him in-game. I think I only met him in the Discord. But no, after having like many political discussions with him, and he considers himself to be pretty left-leaning. I considered myself to be conservative when we first met. And then after the various talks and the various sort of like learning, you know, I was always at least happy to learn, you know. And after doing research of my own, I can pretty basically well say I'm a centrist, if anything, because there are definitely like issues that I do take a liberal stance on, like abortion. I am pro-choice all the way. Like I still think it's murder. There is not a shadow of my doubt in my head that it is murder, but I also have the sort of like consciousness to say that, okay, it doesn't affect me. It's not my life. It's not my fucking decision. I'm going to stay out of it, you know? It's not my problem. I don't ever have to worry about it. Now, if I were to ever have a girlfriend who said I would want an abortion, I would say no, because at that point it's different. And you could say, are you really pro-choice when when you're telling your spouse that you don't want them to get an abortion? Yeah, because it's different. That affects my life. If I want that kid, then I want that kid. You know, and if she were to say, if I told her that I wanted her to get an abortion, which I never fucking would, but hypothetical, if I told my spouse, hey, I want you to get an abortion, I'm not ready to be a dad, and she said no, you know what I would do? I would say, okay, done. we're going to raise this kid. Or at the very least, we're going to raise it separately, although being together would be ideal. So it's very weird because like 2 years ago, I had no idea where I stood on this. I was so like stuck in the conservative mindset that abortion is bad and it should be made illegal, totally illegal all the time. And it wasn't until my ethics class in my junior year where we started talking about abortion and was it ethical. And then my professor somebody asked him for his personal opinion, which he made it very clear that this was his personal opinion and not like he wasn't trying to influence us, that he was asked for his opinion and that he was going to say it because he was asked, and then when he said something, he said something along the lines of, I am pro-choice, but as a Christian, I know that, I know that abortion is murder. And when he said that, I was just like, that's really weird. That's an interesting take. And then over that course of that class period, the more I thought about that and kind of ignored the rest of the lecture, to be honest with you, it made the gears turn in my head. It's like, okay, maybe that is a more logical standpoint. And his reasoning, which is a very, very good reasoning, is that if you were to make abortion illegal, and history has shown this to be true, women will find a way to do it. They will find a way. And these methods, like coat hanger abortions, are much, much more dangerous. These kill people, right? Abortions kill people. That is always a guarantee in an abortion that someone's going to die. But at the best case scenario, let's keep the life that we have here already. Best case scenario. We don't want to kill them both. That's the worst case scenario, is when you kill the mom and the baby. You don't want that. Well, I guess best case scenario would be to have both the mom and the baby, but if you don't get that option, which there always is that option, by the way, or there is adoption, might I add that too. The screen just turned off, motherfucker. Hey, sorry about that. Just had a little bit of a hiccup. I hit the space bar and paused it. But anyway, no, there is always adoption when it comes to things like abortion. You can always adopt your kid. You put your kid up for adoption, but then there are the risks of putting your kid up for adoption. Because some kids go into foster care or they go into families that are not very kind. And there are definitely many circumstances in which there is the argument to be made that this world is not exactly, like, some people genuinely don't want to bring a child into this world. They think that the world is nasty and they don't want to bring a child into it. To which I say, okay, that's fair. That's not my job to put this upon you. I should not in any way be forced to tell you to have a kid. That is wrong. That is not my decision. And I don't understand where these overly like religious conservative people get off on saying stuff like, you have to have a kid, you have to take responsibility for your actions, It's like, okay, well, yes, take responsibility for your actions, but also like people make mistakes. People do stupid things. I can tell you right now, from experience, I should be a dad. For multiple occasions, I should be a dad, but I'm not. And I'm very thankful for that, because if I was a dad, it would have ruined my life for what it is. It would have made my life very different. I would have had a different life. My current life as it is now would have been gone. I would not be here making this podcast. I wouldn't be talking about this. Now, that's not to say that the life that is ruined is somehow inherently better than the life that I would have had if I had a kid. If I were to have a baby, I don't think that version of myself would be any worse off. It would be harder. I think I'd be struggling a little bit more. I think I would also be more mature because, having a kid tends to force people to kind of grow up. At least most people kind of grow up when they hold their baby in their arms. It's just like shit. But you can't punish people for doing things that are natural. For thousands of years, humans have, had intercourse without any kind of, protection, and it would result in the baby. So once you change that up and say you need to have protection now, it's going to be difficult to stop people from not doing that, because most of the time, most people get in the heat of the moment and a thing happens, it just boom, you have it, it's there. But when you actively try to punish people for that, it doesn't make sense to me. I get if you want to punish your own child, if it's your kid, if she's like 14 and she's fucking dudes, or the other way around, if he's 14 and he's fucking women, dude, punish your kid.
Okay, don't force your kid to get an abortion, or don't force your kid to not get an abortion either. Which I think a minor can walk into an abortion clinic without the consent of their parents and get an abortion anyway. But I understand it. Like, yes, as you should be. I want to make this clear too. You should definitely have safe sex if you're not planning on having a kid. You should 100% birth control, condoms, whole way. If you're not planning on having a baby. And especially if you're a teenager in high school or something, dear God, wear condoms. You dumbass. Please wear condoms. I didn't wear condoms. I was really fucking stupid. I could have been a dad, That's just from personal experience, though. But there are hundreds of stories where people's lives, she was on track to be, the world's greatest influencer, but then she had a kid and it was completely shot down. And don't get me wrong, she loves her baby. She loves the life that she's been granted with. She thanks God every day for her child, but this is what she lost, but this is what she gained. So it isn't so much a gain and a loss, maybe as so much as it is a difference. This is what she could have had, but this is what she got because of her own actions. And that is another thing, her own actions. Why should somebody like you or me, take it upon ourselves to punish somebody who is not us? If it's not our actions, we didn't cause it, so why should we have anything to do with it? That kind of deal. I don't see a purpose in that, me personally. Now, someone can argue with me about, the sort of immorality of abortion, which I kind of agree with. On a moral level, I think abortion is disgusting. I think it's really bad, for almost all circumstances. I love it. Like every pro-lifer is like, abortion is bad except for the case of rape and incest, and then it's fine. It's just like, really? That's when you draw the line? That's when you think it's okay? Like, come on. Can't we see? Like, that's just like, you're not even willing to have a discussion. When you say shit like that, it's like, it's bad. You're wrong. If you disagree with me, it's bad. I hate that mentality. I really do, because it's so close-minded, and I hate myself forever, being that way. Up until very recently, I wouldn't say until I got out of high school that I really began to question everything. I remember my freshman year of high school, I was in art class. And let's see, that would have been 2014, 2015. I don't quite remember. I think it would have been 2015, would have been my freshman year of high school. And I was sitting next to a girl that I kind of, we'd gone to school together since kindergarten. I looked at her and I just said, "Hey, what do you think of President Obama?" And she kind of looks at me. "Why?" I'm just curious. I'm, a fellow student. I'm wondering, what do you think of Obama? He's our president. It's kind of important. And she said, "I don't like him." So I said, "Right on. Why?" And she just kind of looked at me. Kind of stand there and just, I just don't. But why? What is it about him you dislike? Is it his policies? Is it the way he talks? What is it? And she just couldn't answer me. And that was one of those things as a freshman where I was like, okay, this is weird. This just kind of proved to me that there was this girl in my class who, no doubt, raised by conservative parents. I don't mean any disrespect toward her, although I highly doubt she remembers this conversation, and I don't think she'll ever listen to this podcast. But, no doubt raised by conservative parents, and she had a disdain for President Obama. That much was very clear. Now, I don't know enough about Obama's presidency to have an opinion on it. I really don't. So when someone asks me, when Obama did this, I'll just be like, that's irrelevant for most of the conversations that are being had today. But, okay, I don't know enough about Obama's presidency. I don't know enough about his administration to really give a formal, opinion on it. And that's something I've said a lot. When something comes up and I don't know, I'll just be like, I don't know. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to, I'm open-minded about it. I don't know enough about it to give an opinion. And there's a lot of things that have been like that, especially when it comes to the economy. I'm just like, dude, I don't know shit. Someone can explain this to me, and I'll take your word for it. I'll go to someone else on the other side, and I'll take their word for it, and then I'll compile the ideas and see which argument, or a mixture of both arguments, whichever one kind of appeals to me more about particular things in the economy. It's very weird. There's a lot of really nuanced shit about the economy and about politics. But you know, this isn't a political podcast. This is about video games. Here we are, episode 2 of a video game oriented podcast, getting into politics. It's fucking great. You know, I was originally so hesitant to talk about politics, but now that I'm kind of like, whatever, you know, I'll just say what's on my mind. You know, fuck it, I don't care. But no, let's go into some other stuff. I have just replayed Undertale again. It's turning 5 years old this year, and I'm kind of like, man, that game's old now. Who remembers Undertale? I do. It was pretty cool. For the first time ever, actually, as of like this week, I had completed my first true pacifist run, and I had never done it before because I gave up. I rage quit. I quit on Metaton. I loaded up my save file from like years ago, and it was on the Metaton fight, and I was just like, damn, I gave up quick. Which Metaton is like pretty far into the game, but like, damn, I gave up on that pacifist run pretty quickly. But no, when I got through the whole pacifist run, I was just like, oh, that was so fucking beautiful, dude. I'm gonna do genocide. So then I started a genocide run, and I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm in Snowden right now, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can finish this. I don't know if I have the heart to kill everything, because like I know what happens if I do, and I feel terrible. So I don't know if I'll ever finish it, but like I really want to talk about Undertale and its music. Real quick though, drink break. Nice Mountain Dew Baja Blast, man. That shit's amazing. I love Baja Blast. I remember the first summer they like released it outside of Taco Bell. It was like fucking gone everywhere. You know, you go to one store, you know, and they said they got Baja Blast, and you fucking go there, like 10 minutes later, it's gone. You know, it's insane. And now I see it pretty more often, you know, it's pretty cool. But man, Baja Blast. Anyway, the music of Undertale, there is something so fucking special about the music of Undertale. And I notice there's a lot of like people out there who will praise Toby Fox for like reusing the same melodies in different songs to make connections. Like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool, but other games have been doing that for literally decades. I don't think that's something that's unique to Toby. And I don't think that anyone's even arguing that, but it does come off a little bit odd to me when people are like, Toby Fox is the best. I love the way his music like just blends together and brings the whole like feeling of connectedness to his world. And I'm like, yeah, but fucking Mario World in 1990 did that a lot. So this isn't special to Toby Fox. Don't get me wrong, I love Undertale, and I haven't played Deltarune yet. I don't even know a lot about Deltarune. I have no idea what the fucking plot is. But no, I do love his music. Like, I think my favorite song in all of Undertale is the dummy fight, the dummy song. It is fucking, it's amazing. That the fucking, like, the bass line of it especially, it's not really a bass line, but that bass part, that's just that simple walk down from that G down the octave, you know, chromatically until about the E flat, and then it kind of drops down a few notes, and then it goes down to that lower G, and it's just like, holy shit, this is the coolest fucking bass line I've ever heard. And it's so fucking jazzy too, and that's one of those things that I love about it. It's a very jazzy tune, it's a very jazzy piece, and I will give credit where credit is due. The music of Undertale is amazing. I said that earlier, but like Toby Fox, man, holy shit, fantastic music. I absolutely love it. And then like Death by Glamour probably comes in second. That one's pretty fucking good. The first time I actually ever heard Death by Glamour was by, what's his name, like Suko G. He did, not anymore, he doesn't do it anymore, but he did like kazoo covers of songs back in the day, and I was like, what the hell is this song? I think I was listening to Zelda music on kazoo, and then it was just autoplay, so, or like it was in the recommended, I was like, I don't know what this is, I'm gonna listen to it, and it was Death by Glamour, and I was just like, dude, this song's a bop. Look up the original. Dude, this song is great. Look up the game. Dude, I gotta get this game. And then I got it from a friend on his Steam library, which he shared the game to me. And then a few years later, I bought it, you know. So it was pretty awesome. I absolutely love the music of Undertale. It is very, very fucking cool. Megalovania is pretty good, although that one kind of became a meme, which is sad. But it's a great fucking song. You know, I really hate when songs become memes. Like Africa by Toto. Amazing song. I have a lot of great memories with it. I have a few sad memories with it, but like it's a great song. But it's a fucking meme and it's ruined, you know? And I hate that. But it is a great song. But anyway, back to Undertale. There's so much like in depth about Undertale, and there's so much like character building in it. And Undertale was like, I wanna preface this by saying I've grown up in a very religious family. I'm talking like we don't know how we feel about gay people kind of family, or at least the older people in the family are kind of like that. Not all of them, but a few of them. There's a few of them I could name, but won't, that are kind of like that. I grew up in a family where it wasn't exactly seen as normal to be not right wing, not nuclear family kind of deal. And then Undertale was this game through the relationship of like, let's do Undyne and Alphys. It's obviously a gay couple, and it's just like, wow, this just at the age of 15, it's sad that I felt kind of weird about it, because I was just like, they're a cute couple, but they're both girls, and that kind of in that moment kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, yeah, gay people are all right. Not that I ever had like a bad thing towards gay people. It just, as a Christian growing up, I was always like, you don't want to be gay, God will judge you. And I am definitely not Christian anymore. I'm not religious really in any way. I am spiritual. I'm more agnostic, if anything. I'm not atheist. I have no doubts about that. I just think that a lot of Christians take the shit in the Bible literally, when there's no way in fuck that Noah built the ark as large as it was supposed to be with 6 people in, what was it supposed to be, a few months? I don't quite remember that. But like, there's no fucking way. And then there's no way that he got every animal on the planet to be on that fucking ship. It's just insane. It's insanity. And then when people come at you with, oh, it was God, it's just like, what? That's not a logical argument. Dude, I could shit my pants right now and say it was God, and you can't argue with me. I can fucking clock someone in the face and say it was God. Can't be argued with. It's insane. It's a crazy way to think. I can't agree with it at all. But I'm not saying that like all religious people are bad. I don't believe that at all, because I grew up religious, and like if I said that, my dad would be someone who was a bad person because he was religious. My mom would be too. My grandparents, God forbid. But no, like there's good religious people out there. I have no fucking doubt about that. And I really hate when there's those atheists who are pretentious assholes who are just like, God's not real. Your religion is bad. Fuck you. And it's just like, oh, dude. Stop. Just let people live their life and be happy. Religion today, for the most part, isn't really necessary. Although it is nice in some circumstances. Religion does a lot of good things for a lot of people. A lot of people find themselves in religion. They find themselves being completely happy and absorbed by their sense of God and their sense of community within that religion. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's something that I kind of envy, because you don't see a lot of like atheist gatherings. Why would you? What are they going to gather about? How much they fucking hate the idea of God? It's just silly. But it's so weird to hear some atheists, like hardcore atheists, I would definitely say, who are just like, dude, people who believe in God are the most naive and gullible, stupid people on the planet. It's like, all right, but I mean, you can't disprove God. That's the other thing. You can't disprove the idea. Now, a lack of evidence does not mean that it's true. That's the problem. I mean, it also doesn't mean that it's false. And this is like, if you were to treat the argument for God the same way you would treat a court case, let's say you were treating it like a case for murder, you would believe that the person is innocent. You wouldn't believe, let me kind of explain that better. You wouldn't believe that I was a murderer if someone said it and gave no evidence at all. No logical, factual evidence to it. You wouldn't believe that, because it's like, okay, dude, you're just saying that he killed someone. Who did he kill? What did he do? How did he do it? Where is the proof that he did it? Where's the evidence for it? And you might even be able to say this analogy that, oh, who he killed was, is somehow allegorical to God creating people, whatever. I don't know. It's hypothetical. It doesn't matter. But you can't, in a court of law, the judge wouldn't fucking deal with that. And the jury probably wouldn't either. They would look at it and just go, there's no evidence. We can't put this guy in jail. There's no evidence for it. But at the same note, just because there's no evidence doesn't mean that he isn't a murderer. But with a lack of evidence, it is still innocent until proven guilty. And maybe you could turn that question around, but the question really can't be flipped around, is God not real or is he? It's more of, is God real or not? It's hardly ever is someone saying, "Is God not real?" Like, it's usually the question of, "Does God exist?" And I do think that there is a God. I do believe that. I don't think it's the Christian God. I don't think that there's any particular form of God that would intervene on life, because I like to imagine myself as God for a moment, just to kind of like ponder on what I would do as God. And this was kind of the line of thinking that led me away from Christianity, also not going to church for like years, and then also being in church and then hearing the stories of the Bible and going, good teachings, I'm with you, but some of the shit doesn't make sense. And some of the teachings are contradictory. It's like, what's going on here, man? You're gonna tell me that this shit was actually happening? I'm kind of sketchy about that, So once you take it to the light of, okay, it's not meant to be taken literally, it's more interpretations. And then you can kind of like, okay, the case for the Bible is a bit more, there's more to it than that, If you take it as stories, less as historical fact, you can kind of put more credence to the word of the Bible, the Christian Bible. And, I don't think that, like, I don't think that people who take the Bible literally are bad people. I've had plenty of friends who, very literal, the Bible says this is the way the earth was created, this is what heaven is, this is, blah, 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 blah. I don't believe that. I can't believe that. In my mind, I'm just like, okay, if I was God, how would I create a universe? What would I do? And I kind of like to use some of Alan Watts' thinking about this, because it's a very, very good analogy. His analogy was a dream. What would you do if you could dream anything you wanted forever? And basically the conclusion came to that eventually you would dream a dream where you wouldn't know what was going to happen, and you would just create a universe at the end of it. You just make a universe and see what the fuck happens. Whatever. I just want to see what happens. And that to me is like, okay, that is a very logical explanation for how a all-powerful being would think. Because inevitably what would happen is you get bored with your own thoughts and your own mind. So you just create something, And that's not necessarily like if you're immortal, you automatically are all-powerful. That's not necessarily true. But, being an all-powerful being, people don't tend to think about that kind of shit. Most people, especially like your kind of run-of-the-mill Christian people, aren't going to go, well, what would I do if I was God? They would think that most people who would ask the question, like if you were to ask a Christian, what would you do if you were God? They would probably just come back and start talking about the church, talking about the people they want to help on earth. I highly doubt that any of them would go, I think I'd create a universe. I think I would do that. That sounds fun. I just create a universe, see what happens. Very few of them would, because they think in their very, very limited bubble. They don't think too far beyond the idea of humanity, and they don't really think too much about the planets and what the beautiful like ballet of the cosmos is. And it's very interesting for me as someone who grew up Christian, someone who grew up fucking loving Jesus, and then fell out of it. It's very interesting to talk to people who are still at my age very much into it. Like, there was a girl I dated in high school for like a month. Her and I, we still talk occasionally. But I sent her a Jordan Peterson lecture about the Bible, which, think what you will about Jordan Peterson. I think his lectures about the biblical stories are phenomenal. I enjoy them. His voice is also just like, I love falling asleep to Jordan Peterson's voice. It's not even like I agree with everything he says, although I do agree with a lot of things he says about, the humans and how our brain works. It's very interesting. But at the very least, I think his stories are very interesting. And then I recommended the first of his lectures to a girl from high school that I dated. I don't know if she's watched it yet, but I really hope she does, because it's very interesting. I want to hear it from the perspective of someone who is hardcore believing in God. When I watch those videos of Jordan talking about God and the Bible and whatnot, I already knew that I wasn't exactly a Christian. I already kind of knew that in my heart. I've never really come out and publicly say it, other than like here. I've never gone on my Facebook and been like, yo, mom, I don't believe in Christ. I'll be in hell, bitch. No, I've never done that. But I really don't have a heart to tell my mom that. It's kind of hard, Or like my grandparents, they're never going to know, dude. My grandparents will never know. And that's like, is it lying? Kind of. It's more or less just like, I don't want to, I don't want my grandparents to worry for me. Because at the end of the day, if there is a God, which I do think there is a God, I don't think that a God would judge based on believing specifically in him. I think that's kind of fucking insane. Drink break. Like, the question becomes, if you were God, how would you judge people? How would you decide who gets to go to heaven, who gets to go to hell? Well, first of all, if you're going to believe that your God is all good, you would say, I wouldn't do anything. If a God was truly all good, he wouldn't pick who gets to go to heaven, who gets to go to hell. He would just let people die, and that'd be it. Or God would say, here, you've surpassed life. Now you get to create your own universe. And then you get to be the God of that universe and do your thing. I don't care. You're not my subject. I'm not your master. You do your thing. I'll do my thing. There's no way that we can fuck with each other, because we're both immortal beings at this point. And from that, it's just like, okay, you let everyone have their own universe, and people will do with that what they will. Do I think that's actually what would happen when you die? No, but I think it is more likely to say that an all-powerful God, an all-good God, would either A, let everyone in heaven, or B, wouldn't make the decision of who gets to go to heaven, who gets to go to hell. Now, what I think is more likely than the Christian value of, if you believe in Christ, you get to go to heaven instantly. Instant win, you get in. So if Hitler were to say to himself, I believe in Jesus, shoots himself in the head, he's in heaven, I don't think that's true. And even if, there's that, Hitler probably wouldn't mean it, but what if he did? What if Hitler said it and meant it, motherfucker? You don't fucking know. You weren't there, and then it's like, if he did in that case, I guess he's going to heaven. And you get to deal with Adolf Hitler in heaven. I wouldn't want to be in heaven in that case. I want to be at the total opposite side of heaven, if that's the case. But no, I think that's a very stupid rule. If I were forced to make the judgment decision, if someone put a gun to my head and said, you get to decide, you have to decide who goes who and where, which I know in a hypothetical situation, there would be nobody to put a gun to my head other than myself. Which, would I do that? That's the question. If you were a God, would you put a gun to your own head and just say, figure it out, bud? That's the ultimate way to stop procrastinating. Put a gun to your head and say, motherfucker, do it. Do these goddamn dishes. No, but if I had to put people in heaven or hell, of course I would judge it based off their actions. And the interesting thing about that is, what you would find in a case like that, where you would ask multiple people that question, you would find that everybody gives different answers for that question. If they got to decide who went into heaven, they would give different answers. I'm sure that people would model it either, if they follow me, then they come in. If they don't, whatever, kind of the Christian ideology behind that. Maybe some people would follow Judaism. If you follow the rules, you generally be a good person, this and that, you can get into heaven, Or some people maybe would take my kind of theology and just say, I'm not doing this. I don't think that I would have first of all, the mental capacity to think that I could even be God is fucking insane. There is no way in hell that I would ever have the willpower to become a God at all. And second of all, if I was in that position, which I don't think I ever will be, or I don't think I ever could be as my current conscious state, I don't think I'd do it. I don't think I'd have the heart, because you would have to look at every individual being. And, as an immortal, all-powerful being, you've seen their whole life. You've seen their ups and downs. You've seen their trials. You've seen the good and the bad. And then to just say, to the fiery pit with you, motherfucker. Fuck you. That's a terrible line of thinking. Like, there are some phenomenal people out there who I know are atheist people. And I don't think they deserve to go to hell. I think it's terrible. And then when you talk to a Christian about this, it's like, hey, I remember I dated, in high school, I dated a girl who was agnostic, and I was Christian at the time. We had a few arguments back and forth about it. And I feel awful for this because I was so angry with her at the time. I was like, how can you not believe in God? And it just completely changed my life by dating her. For the year and a half that we dated, like, my brain opened up quite a bit, actually. But, in that time, when I dated her and my family got to know her, when my family kind of found out that she wasn't a Christian, they kind of like, buddy, what are you doing, bud? Like, she's gonna go to hell. And it's just like, you shut the fuck up. Like, dude, that's so fucking mean. First of all, how do you know who gets to go to heaven? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know who goes to heaven. You have no fucking idea of who goes to heaven. the Bible may say that the followers of Christ go in, but it's like, yeah, but other parts of the Bible say that it's, this and that. Like the Old Testament says that there's a certain, you repent, you give things up for God, you do nice things for good people, good things for good people, good things for bad people. There's so many different ways you can get to heaven. There's so many different religions that have different ideas of heaven, what heaven is. But, is it like, why say something like that to somebody? Why would you ever say to someone you're going to hell? The only time you ever tell someone that they're going to hell is if you have ill intent toward them. And that's fucking disgusting. It's terrible. It's an awful thing to do. It's so mean and hurtful to look at someone and say, sorry, buddy, you're going to hell, bitch. It's just like, dude, don't be a dick. Leave people alone, that kind of thing, I always hated that. Look at that. I ended up getting into religion in the podcast. Ain't that weird? Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. I think I'll end it there. My voice is getting kind of tired. I have a whole half bottle of Mountain Dew left. Whatever will I do? No, if you guys want to see more podcasts, I will certainly be uploading them soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye.